Hello children, once again with chapter 5 Principles of Inheritance and Variation. I am here with lecture 10 Pedigree Analysis. Now pedigree analysis means the study of inheritance of the genetic traits in a human family over several generations in the form of a family tree diagram. In such an analysis, the individuals are represented with the help of symbols interlinked to each other for a particular family, wherein we represent the traits or the character that is under study. A particular character is selected to be studied for over generations in a family, and then we try to represent that particular trait or the character, how it is passing on from one generation to another with the help of symbols, and the pattern of inheritance is thus studied. So we start with the lecture series. Here we use some symbols, like say the square represents male, the circle represents female. The shaded square or circle will mean that that particular male or female is affected. Affected means that individual, that person is expressing the character under study. Whatever character we are studying, that individual has that character, is expressing that character. So in that case, we will shade that particular individual. If it's male, shade a square. If it's a circle, shade a, if it's a female, shade a circle. Then the line joining them will represent mating here. Then the vertical line arising from the horizontal line joining two individuals will represent the line of descent and the offsprings. Roman numbers indicate the generations. Then if it is identical twins, then the line of descent will be in the arising from a point where again a horizontal line will join the two individuals to represent identical twins, and if no line in between, it will represent non-identical twins. The horizontal line joining two individuals, here this is the first generation, it indicates the marriage line. The vertical line arising from it represents line of descent, and again the horizontal line drawn after the line of descent will mean the sibling line. That means these are the children of the first generation parents. They are the second generation. When these siblings or these children they marry, they will produce the third generation, and it goes on. And depending upon which of these individuals is carrying the character we are studying, we have to shade it. So we will see in the coming slides such representations. Now through pedigrees we can find out whether a particular character is autosomal dominant, autosomal recessive. Autosomal means that the gene for that character is located in one of the autosomes, and if the gene for the character under study is located in the X chromosome, we call it as X-linked character or X-linked trait, we will call it, if it is located in the X chromosome. X chromosome means in one of the sex chromosomes, and depending upon whether the character we are studying is in the dominant form, that means the allele, whether it's in the dominant form or it is in the recessive form, we will name them as autosomal dominant or X-linked dominant, autosomal recessive or X-linked recessive. So studying pedigrees, we can categorize the characters under this, generally under these four headings. We will see all of them one by one. First, we will go to autosomal dominant. Now, autosomal dominant characters usually have affected parents. That means that here you can see this is the second generation, first child. Now, one of the children of the couple, they are one of the child is affected of this particular couple. So this affected child has affected parent. So whenever you are trying to find out whether the trait is autosomal dominant, it is dominant or not, first thing, okay, then we first look for it whether the individual who is showing it has a parent who also carries the character. In that case, we can be almost sure that the trait is a dominant one. Now, in this case, even heterozygotes are affected. Homozygous, quite obvious, they will show it. Even heterozygotes are affected, as we have already learned while doing on dominance and recessive in the previous classes. We have already seen that dominance can be in both forms, homozygous as well as heterozygous. When we used to write like capital allele together, that is homozygous dominant, capital allele and small, we use the letters capital and small, that is the heterozygous condition. So in both the conditions, the dominant traits can be expressed. Two affected parents can produce an unaffected child. Now this point we have to stress on. Two affected parents can also have an unaffected child. Like in this case, as you can see here, this particular couple, both the parents have that character. Now both the parents are having the character, but both the children do not have it. One has, the other does not. Now under what condition is this possible? This will be possible, like say the condition, as we are clear about it, that these are dominant traits. So let's use some symbols here. Dominant traits means definitely they will have one dominant allele. So we can write here the presence of a dominant allele in all of the individuals who are showing the character under study. Now the one child of this particular couple is not showing the trait, is not showing the trait. Is not showing the trait means definitely it has the other allele. It has the contrasting allele. Contrasting allele of dominance will definitely be recessive. So and recessive characters, we know they are always expressed in recessive homozygous forms. So the second child is definitely a recessive individual. Now the daughter will get the recessive alleles from whom? From their parent. So definitely she has got one recessive allele from mother and one recessive allele from father. So both these parents, when they are heterozygous, then they can produce a child who will be with the recessive trait. So that is the meaning of two affected parents can produce an unaffected child, provided these affected parents are heterozygous. As regards this affect child, the child who is with the trait, now what will be his other allele? It may be one of the allele it got from maybe the mother or the father. The other allele, it might get again a dominant allele, so then it will make it homozygous, or maybe it can even get a recessive allele. So he may again be a heterozygote, or he may be a homozygote, but that we cannot ascertain unless and until we see his children. Now two unaffected parents will not have an affected child. Quite obvious. Two unaffected means what? Unaffected means recessive. So two recessive ones cannot again go and become dominant. Here the person will show the character only when it has at least one dominant allele. Now recessive alleles cannot on itself change to dominant ones. So quite obvious, two unaffected will not will not produce a child with the trait. Now here both males and females are affected with equal frequencies because it has nothing to do with the sex chromosomes. So here both males and females are randomly it will be produced. It's not in particular like only males or only females will be showing it. Now when symbols we represent, so affected individuals can either be homozygous or heterozygous, as I have mentioned here, and the unaffected will always be with recessive alleles. Unaffected will always be recessive. Affected will be either homozygous or heterozygous when we are talking about autosomal dominant characters in a pedigree chart. Now we will move to the next one, that is autosomal recessive. Now autosomal recessive trait. Autosomal recessive traits will be expressed, okay, whenever we want to study. Now we can see a pedigree which is quite different from the previous one, which one I just showed. Now here the individual who is showing the character is a female in the second generation. Here when we study her parents, we can see the parents are not having that character. They are not shaded, means what? They are not having that character. So when you see such a condition, then we can be almost sure that this is a recessive trait. Okay, that means the character is expressed in the alleles which are recessive, only in the homozygous form. The allele in the homozygous form, or the alleles which we are naming as recessive, only can express the trait. Autosomal recessive, here most affected children will have unaffected parents, as I already mentioned. Affected individual when mates with a homozygous normal individual will have normal children. Now affected individual. Now affected individual, as already I mentioned, that these are recessive ones. So recessive means the symbols which we can represent will be small and small, homozygous condition. Now when it mates with a homozygous normal individual, normals are who? Normals are the dominant forms. That we have to keep in mind, okay? Whenever the recessive ones are expressing, okay, the trait affected, we are telling, that means unaffected are who? Unaffected are the dominant ones. So whenever if she marries a person, a male, with a dominant trait, that too homozygous. Homozygous means if her husband is with the allele capital A, capital A. If her husband is with these traits, suppose, okay, then what will be her children? Every child that this couple will bear or will produce will definitely have one of the dominant alleles. One recessive allele definitely from the mother, but the other allele will always be a dominant one. So the children or the individuals that this particular couple will produce will always be in the heterozygous form. So heterozygous form means dominant, and here in this case, what is it? The dominance will not be expressing the trait we are studying. So that is the meaning here. Affected individual when mates with homozygous normal individuals will have normal children. But other way around, okay, other way around also we can also see, if she mates with a heterozygous one, then she might have they might have a child who will be recessive again. Okay, now this feature is very commonly seen in consanguineous marriages. Consanguineous marriages means within the family. When marriages take place within the family, then the children in that particular family may be with recessive alleles, more commonly seen. Males and females affected with equal frequencies like the previous case, same like the previous case, equally affected. Then here again, when the symbols, as already I have shown here, affected will always be homozygous, and the carriers, we call these as the carriers, heterozygous. Why are they carriers? They carriers because if two heterozygotes also unite together, then there is a very much chance that they will have a recessive child. Like in this case, the mother must have been a heterozygote, father also must have been a heterozygote. So consequently, what happened? One recessive allele from mother, one recessive allele from father came and formed the daughter here, who is showing the trait from an unaffected pair of parents. Now, X-linked dominant. Now, X-linked dominant is that trait, okay, this trait is quite common. Okay, this is a very common feature which is seen here. Affected father passes all to all the daughters. When a character, maybe a disease, okay, or a character, the gene for which is present in X chromosome, when it is present in one of the X chromosomes, then it is likely to be expressing or showing. Now here what have we said? We have said that the character is dominant. Okay, dominant, let us mark it as this. Okay, we will mark the X chromosome with a dominant trait with the X dot. Now males are XY, females are XX. We know this. Okay, this female, is mother, is not with the trait. It is not shaded. She has recessive alleles for the gene of this character, whatever character it may be. Okay, so she has the recessive alleles, so without the trait. Father has it. The trait father is expressing that character. Why? Because father has the dominant form of the gene in his X chromosome. Y, the other one is Y. Now, when this couple produces children, females produced by this couple, the daughters produced by this couple, what is their chromosome? Their chromosome is always XX. Chromosomes are always XX. Now, one of the X she has got from her mother, other X definitely from her father she will get. That means one of the X will be X dot. Now, X dot, as already I told you, it is dominant. If it is dominant, then in the female it will be showing. It will be expressing. But the sons, now what will happen to the sons? Sons, they are getting one X from the mother. The X always they get from the mother. They will get only the Y from father. Y is not transmitting it. So, sons are normal now. These daughters, what will happen? They are the dominant. This X dot is the dominant trait. So, what happens? It shows. They are heterozygous. Okay, they become heterozygous now. If a female, such a female marries a male who is affected, then they may produce a homozygous dominant daughter. So, or they will produce a son, okay, son who will have the effect. So, if we want to find out whether it is X-linked dominant or not, so what do we see? You will always have to see the daughters first. If all the daughters shown, okay, whatever number of daughters will be shown, if all the daughters are expressing the trait, go to the father. Father is also expressing the trait. Then we can say that this is sex-linked, more specifically X-linked dominant trait. So what we'll have to see? We will have to see in a generation the daughters are affected. Then you go to check the parents. Out of the parent, if father is affected, that means he is giving to all his daughters, only his daughters. Okay, sons not showing. Then you can be sure, almost sure, that this is an X-linked dominant trait. So here you can see X. Here I have represented the red. Okay, the letters which are colored in red, they are the alleles. They are the alleles, the X alleles, which is carrying the trait. Okay, the gene that is carrying the trait. It is present in this X, the ones which I have colored red. So X, Y affected, red X, black X affected, female. Okay, these daughters. And then if it comes in this combination XX, that will also be affected. Here they are carrying the recessive alleles in the X chromosome, so normal. Even this type of male will be normal. Then the last type, X-linked recessive. When you want to check this type of, so you have to see whether in a generation only males are showing it. If only males are showing, the next generation also, when you go to check, you see only males are showing it. Then you can be sure this is X-linked recessive. X-linked recessive. Now, X-linked recessive means these traits are rare. This trait skips generations. In some generations you will not see it because it is a recessive, as already I mentioned. The second that I was discussing, the second character, that is autosomal recessive. Autosomal recessive or X-linked recessive, they will always skip generations. In some generations you will not see the trait. Okay, and this is of course rare. Males are more often affected than females. Like we have studied hemophilia, quite similar to that. So here what happens, the X chromosome, okay, the father is normal, mother is also normal as per this chart, but what happens, the son is expressing the trait. From whom did he get the X? He got from mother. Okay, he got from mother. So mother, maybe she was carrying it in the recessive form. She was carrying it in the recessive form. She gave to her son. She gave the defective allele to her son. So this way it shows. Such traits are called as X-linked recessive traits. Affected father will not pass it to their son. Quite obvious, because fathers do not give their X chromosome to their son. They give only the Y chromosome. So in this case you can see here XY is the affected, XX carrier but unaffected. Why unaffected? Because here we are talking about a recessive one. Then XY unaffected, XX unaffected. Now we will discuss some problems related to the pedigrees. We will just discuss two problems as to how to find out. Now here we can see a pedigree is given. Okay, a pedigree is shown to us where the first generation, okay, second generation and third generation, 3 generations. So your first task to check, okay, here the question is the ones which I have just discussed now, the 4 types that we have discussed. The given pedigree will fall under which of the 4 types? First we have to decide that. Okay, to decide that, so what do we see first? Let us check one by one. Females, 3 females in 3 generations, 1 male showing the trait. So it cannot be sex linked. It cannot be sex linked. Sex linked 2 criteria we had seen. Okay, in 1 criteria we saw that only the males are affected, but here we can see females are showing it. Then in the second one we saw that is the previous one, we saw that if father has it, he will give it to his daughters only. But here we don't see any such thing, so we can say this is an autosomal trait. First problem done. Then the second is whether it is dominant or recessive. Now we check all the generations. Third generation, daughter affected, she has a parent who is also affected. Second generation, the son who is affected has a parent who is also showing it. So that means what? It is not skipping any generation. The character is being shown, or the character can be seen in all the generations, one after another. So it indicates, it points that it is a dominant trait. Okay, it is an autosomal dominant trait. How it is autosomal, already I have talked. Okay, how it is dominant, that also I have mentioned. Now the question arises, okay, to find out what condition, heterozygous or homozygous. Now to do that, we will use the symbols. As we are very much sure that it is a dominant trait, that means what? It will definitely have the one individuals with the character will definitely have one dominant allele. They are definitely having one dominant allele. Now we have to see whether it is heterozygous or homozygous. When we go to check it, if the individual, shaded individual is expressing the trait, okay, unshaded ones are not expressing the trait, means what? They are recessive. Okay, they are recessive. We don't need to find the genotypes of this individual, but still then we are doing it. If one is dominant, quite obvious the other is recessive. Okay, not showing the trait. Suppose this person has a disease, okay, has a severe disease. This person has a severe disease, okay, which is expressed with the gene. This person is not having it. Means what? It has the other allele. He is not having it, means he has the other allele for it. What is the other allele? Recessive form. Okay. Now, they have a child. Okay. Here, this is the child, okay, who is born of this couple. The dominant allele, because that disease is seen even in the son now, he got from his mother, the dominant allele, but he will also get one from the father. That means what? He is getting it from his father, small a, because father cannot give any other allele. It can give only the recessive one to his son. So this son, what happens? He is a heterozygote. Similarly here, the same condition here also you can see. Clearly you can see this will also be heterozygote. Now, what about the mother here? We have to find out for the mother. She is homozygote or heterozygote. Now, they produce children who are again recessive. They are not with the disease. Means what? Recessive like the father. Like this father. From the father, got one recessive allele. The other allele from whom? Definitely from the mother. So, mother, that means also has a allele, the recessive allele present in her body, but suppressed because she has the dominant one. And so it's getting showing, the character is showing in her as the other one is getting suppressed, being in a heterozygous condition. So mother is again heterozygote. So we can find out in this manner. Similarly, this mother also we can say, because they have children who are with the recessive one. So the mother is again heterozygote here. So this is the way how we can solve the pedigree for an autosomal dominant trait. This is the autosomal dominant trait. Now we will move to the other example. Now in this example, first, second, third, 3 generations shown. In the 3 generations, let us check the affected individuals. From the third, let us go from the third one. Third generation, the son is with a disease or with a character, whatever it be. It has it. Let us check his parent. Parent does not have it. Okay. Here parents are not having it. Siblings of this parent, mother. Okay. Siblings of the mother have it. But their parents again do not have it. Okay. So that means what? It is getting skipped in the generations. First generation without the character, without the disease, expressed in second generation here. Second generation also one child was without it, but she again expressed in the third generation. Now if we see the line of only this daughter, okay, she has unaffected parent, herself she is unaffected, her husband is also unaffected, but her child again shows it. So if we see the generations of only this particular daughter, 2 generations it got skipped, but third generation it is expressing. So such traits we can say they are recessive traits. They are recessive traits getting expressed in only in some generations, because recessive characters are seen only when a particular combination occurs. The particular combination is the recessive alleles, which we represent with small letters. Like say we represent with, here we'll use the same symbol A. Any symbol you can use. Okay, I'll use A here. So A. Only such a homozygous recessive allele combination, allelic combination can express recessive traits, which is rare. More common will be the dominant ones. More common will be the dominant ones, because dominance can be seen in 2 types of combinations, homozygous as well as heterozygous. So what are his parents? Okay, what are his parents? His parents, as they are without the trait, means they are with the dominant form of the character, but heterozygous. Why heterozygous? Why heterozygous? Because they produced a child who was recessive or who is recessive. This daughter's parents also must have been heterozygous. Okay, also must have been heterozygous here. Okay, they also must have been heterozygous here. That is why what did she get? She got maybe one of the dominant allele from either father or mother and the recessive allele from the other one. If she got the dominant from mother, maybe the recessive one she got from her father. She became heterozygous. But the other two, one of her brother and one of her sister, what did they get? They got both the recessive alleles, one each from father and mother. This one also same. Now when we come to this, the two sons here, these two sons are without the trait, means they have the dominant allele. They have the dominant allele in their body. But what will be the other one? Other allele. Other allele might be a small a. If suppose capital A it got from father, the mother might have given a capital A or maybe a small a. Any one of them. Maybe she had given. So he is with a dominant character. We can very clearly see because it's not shaded. But whether he is homozygous or heterozygous, that we cannot ascertain. Okay, such cases we represent this way. Okay, we represent AA slash AA. We can represent in this manner, or sometimes also it is represented as A then a question mark. That means we are not sure about the second allele unless and until we see his children. Like in this case, if we would not have seen her children, we would not be sure about her condition. We are sure about her condition because we have seen she has a son who is with the recessive alleles. So this is how we go to solve pedigrees. So this is an autosomal recessive trait. So in this manner we can go on solving the pedigree charts. What we have to see, first we have to see whether it is autosomal or sex linked. Then we have to see whether it is dominant or recessive. Thank you.